Hi, and welcome to this chat on fear of traffic or traffic reactivity. It can be a really disabling one for some dogs. So how it tends to arise is, especially with rescued street dogs, rehomed dogs, it can be that they haven't had calm and happy exposure to traffic when they are going through their early and late socialization stages. So for all you new puppy owners, it's really important you get your puppy out around cars, lorries, motorbikes, bicycles in a way that is calm and positive for them. So if you find your puppy gets a bit squirrely around traffic, then take their settle mat, take all your high value treats, sit way back from the road and feed them lots of treats. Just watch the traffic go by. Really important that young dogs do get used to the sight and the sound and even sensation of the wind blowing past them as a lorry perhaps goes past in the road. So that can be part of the reason, if a dog doesn't have that socialization to traffic, that they can be a little bit reactive to traffic, and we'll talk about exactly what that means in a minute. But the other issue can be that there's been some kind of trauma or fear with respect to the traffic. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that your dog has been in a car accident. It could just be that they had very limited exposure to traffic when they were going through those critical early stages of development, which is up to 16 weeks and then up to 6 months. It could be they've had very limited exposure, and the exposure that they did have was frightening. So if you try and get your puppy out around traffic and they're scared witless, you may think, oh, we better not do that again. And then for them, their only experience of traffic is that it is scary. So it's either a lack of early socialization, or it can be a traumatic experience of some kind that means that if traffic goes past them, they experience some sort of fear, anxiety, or stress. So we're just going to unpick that a little bit, because some dogs are simply afraid of traffic. So my puppy Annie, and to a lesser extent Lawrence the Labrador, if a lorry goes thundering past us, they will both shrink away slightly and then look at me for a treat. They don't like the experience of traffic passing closely by, but for the most part they can cope. That is one type of reaction that you will see. In its more extreme form, and this would have been puppy Annie a month or two ago, if a lorry had gone close by, she would have tried to escape, move away from it, hit the end of the lead, start spinning in circles, barking, biting the lead because she wants to get away. The other sort of response to traffic that you see is dogs who are frustrated and want to chase the traffic. Now, that might be Annie with a cyclist, or anything that doesn't have the huge overwhelm of the sound that you get with a lorry or a motorbike, which is tending to make her run away. She's a border collie, huge chase drive. So if there's a cyclist, to a lesser extent prams, she quite likes to attack a wheelie bin, even if it's moving slowly. So anything with wheels that's moving and a dog is compelled and overwhelmed by the urge to chase that moving object, and you restrain them on a lead, or for some dogs being restrained inside a car and watching these things happening outside the car, it makes them so frustrated that they start to get reactive. Now, those dogs will tend to be pulling towards the object that's moving, and then start barking. They may spin on the lead and bite the lead. They may air snap. all your typical reactive behaviours, but it tends to be pulling towards rather than running away from. For those types of dogs, it is likely that they didn't get the right socialisation experience when they were young. And for them, the right socialisation experience has a slightly different slant. Yes, it would be really good if they could lay down on a mat and eat treats and watch the traffic go by. But for them, what they're really looking to do is to have sufficient impulse control. They can see the movement and redirect their focus to their owner and eat some treats. Whereas the dogs who are plain afraid of the traffic are more trying to stay on their mat and eat treats and not run away and feel scared. But for both of them, actually being around traffic while they're going through those critical early stages of development, provided they are feeling calm and positive and in control, you haven't compelled them to sit too close, because that is just repeating the trauma. And I have said before, and it is a very silly, trite rule, which has no scientific basis, but as a general rule, if there is a distance at which your dog would react, i.e. run away, bark, lunge, air snap, bite the lead, you want to be at least 3 times that distance away for your dog to feel safe. Now, the reality is for some dogs, it might be 10 times that distance. It's rarely just a few steps further away. It is orders of magnitude further away for them to feel genuinely safe. And if you want them to get over their fear as an adult dog, you can do it. It does take a little bit longer. Do it as puppies, you find you can rehabilitate them much more quickly. But with an adult dog, you do need to start at a distance they feel entirely safe, completely below their trigger threshold, either triggered to chase after it or run away from it. And I would strongly recommend you work with a behaviourist if you are experiencing traffic reactivity with an adult dog, because it takes a little while, and the potential problem that you have with extremely traffic reactive dogs is that there are not enough open spaces in our local area where you can walk your dogs, where there will be no experience of traffic. So what can you do if you have a traffic reactive dog? You need to avoid any walk where they get any experience of traffic while you work on this. So all the time you're re-traumatizing them every walk, you are just slightly compounding the issue walk after walk after walk. So we need to be avoiding traffic. It may be that you need to put them in the car and drive somewhere in order that you can have a walk where you do not have traffic. And for some dogs, that will mean being in a crate in the back of your car, which is covered so they can't see the traffic, because otherwise they will be barking the whole time they're in the car, frustrated if they want to chase it, or fearful because they're watching all these things that terrify them. Some dogs are fine when they're in the car. So the first thing is avoid re-traumatizing them and making sure they get exercise where they are not exposed to their triggers. The second part of it is to reintroduce them to some experience of being around traffic in a way they can digest. So if you think about a frustrated traffic chaser, you might start with them in a downstay on their mat in the garden and you wheel a bicycle. You might wheel the wheelie bin, you might have a suitcase on wheels, and you would gradually work your dog up to being able to watch traffic moving at a distance and then gradually closer. As I say, it's really worthwhile working with a behaviourist, and simple things, if your dog is showing signs of traffic reactivity, that you definitely want to try is to make sure that if there is traffic coming along one side of you, the dog is walked on the other side so they are as far from the traffic as possible. But the main thing is to find routes that give them even more distance. So it's not really enough that they're just not reacting. You want them to be really comfortable. And the other thing that you might try is if they do have a moment where you get like a roaring motorbike go past you when they are scared, is give them a whole handful of treats, and see if you can mark the trigger. So if they're below their threshold, you know, they're scared but not utterly overwhelmed, you could say motorbike and give them a handful of treats. So it's a variation of the look at that protocol. See the dog, see the car. Actually, we're just marking the overwhelm of the sound and the motion and the physical sensations of it with a word, motorbike. Don't have too many words, lorry, motorbike, car. Depending on your dog, you're just marking the overwhelm and giving them a treat so they reconnect with you. And what that does is it allows you to experience that traffic overwhelm moment together. Rather than trying to distract your dog from it, you're more celebrating the traffic. Oh, it's a motorbike, handful of treats. And over time, that may create a positive, conditioned emotional response to the stimulus of that motorbike going past. So I hope that was helpful. Some thoughts on traffic reactivity. Any questions or comments, please do leave them in the comments and I will get back to you. Bye for now.